Hello Internet, welcome to another video on my channel this fine Wednesday. I have been playing a bit of Pokemon Showdown, and lots of people wanted me to do some Showdown stuff because I already do Pokemon Online live. I don't really feel like doing Pokemon Showdown live is as effective, like when my narration is concerned. It's just a bit of a different feeling I get when I play it, but the nice thing about Showdown is that it has nice replay stuff, and I guess PO has replay stuff as well, but it's so much more convenient to have a game on Showdown and then go straight to a replay. Also, Showdown follows the Smogon tiering, so it makes it more relevant, I guess, even though it's kind of more easy to get up rankings and stuff. But all that aside, it's still a decent thing to play battles on, and that's what I did today. I've been doing the last couple of days a bit of laddering, as it were, and I'm using the team that you'll probably recognize. It's one of Joey's team. But the nice thing about this player, of course, is it gives me free reign to run whatever speed I want to. I can pause the battle if I need to talk about stuff. It's good. So we're going to try this out, see how it goes, and obviously if you guys enjoy this, want more of it, then let me know, and feedback is always helpful, so that would be great. So do that. First of all, let's take a look at the teams. I'm using the team that you'll probably recognize a lot because I've been using it in Wi-Fi and everything. Is the Joey's team with Staraptor. It functions beautifully, and it's like butter. It's like spreading butter on toast. The ease of use with this team, I swear to God. But he has some big threats in Garchomp. Starmie's annoying, of course, and has the potential to spin away my hazard, so I've got to watch out for that. Amoonguss and Heatran work well as a defensive pairing. And obviously Amoonguss has Regenerator, which can become a bit of a pain in the ass if I don't deal with it, but that's what we've got going on. Heracross is rather interesting, and Rachi could be multiple things. It is so versatile, as we very well know. So we're going to start off with a normal speed and jump at it here. I decided I'm going to get up my weather first of all with Tyranitar, as he goes for Garchomp as the lead spot. Now, I don't want to stay in and take an Earthquake from Garchomp, so I'm going to switch out and go into my Landorus, which affords me a nice opportunity to not only intimidate the Garchomp, but also potentially set up Stealth Rocks as he switches, because he's locked into Earthquake if he is Scarfed, and if that's the case. But it's fine because he ends up going into his Heatran, which we have a nice pairing. Though the problem is that his Heatran is faster than my Landorus, so we both go for Stealth Rocks. He ends up being faster, obviously, because I saw that he was faster, and now I don't want to take a Fire Blast, so I'm going to go back into Rotom. See, this is nice, because I can just pause it and then continue. Alright, so now I'm in with Rotom on Heatran. I was a little bit iffy about going for Volt Switch, because there is the potential he could go into Garchomp and be a little bit annoying, but not the best of plays in his mind, really. He's better to go to Amoonguss to take a hit because he can take any of my hits as opposed to, just one of them. So he goes into it, dodges a Hydro Pump, and then I decide to Volt Switch out. So, at this point, I'm thinking I need to go into something to go to sleep. Looking at my entire team, nothing really wants to take sleep because synergetically they all work so well together. And though rocks are on the field, the only thing that I really feel like is good to take the sleep is Fortress. So I go into Fortress, and it turns out that he goes for the Stun Spore instead of the Spore. Now, this is rather interesting because usually people just go ahead and go for the Spore straight away, but going for Stun Spore affords him an opportunity later on to potentially spore something that he wants to spore, as opposed to me shoving something out there that I want to go to sleep. He has more of an option to spore something else. However, by Stun Sporing me now, he also leaves himself open to the fact that whenever he wants to spore something, I can just go straight to Fortress, and because I'm already statused, I can dodge the sleep regardless. So it actually works out, I feel, better on my end, though I may get power hacks, and I probably will get power hacks, as you will see along the way. So at this point, he is probably going to switch out and go to something to deal with my Fortress, and it turns out he goes to Starmie. I end up going for the Rapid Spin on that turn because he doesn't have Ghost, there's no spin blocking, so I can get rid of the Stealth Rock pretty easily. Unfortunately, get paralyzed, and then we both try and trade off spins here. He gets his off. Unfortunately, I get paralyzed 2 times in a row, so Fortress is still not looking too great, but I'm not too afraid of Starmie, and especially when he's running a Rapid Spin one, it doesn't seem too threatening. He's also running Scald, so I can take those hits really well because I am specially defensive, and Starmie isn't able to do a whole heck of a lot. It takes me down to 75% after a Scald, and back up to 81 with the lefties, so that's nice. Now, I decided on that turn that I was going to go for the Volt Switch, which would have been really nice because I would have broken the Heatran's balloon and then had the potential to go into something like my Staraptor and close combat or threaten in the close combat at least, or even go into something like Rotom and just threaten with the Hydro Pump. But I get paralyzed as he goes into his Heatran, which means that, well, it kind of sucks. And I don't get to get rid of the balloon, so I have to just flat switch into Rotom. And though there was the potential of him setting up Stealth Rocks there and me maybe wanting to stay in and spin, there was no real reason for me to risk it, so I'm going to go straight to Rotom and then Volt Switch out again because I don't fear him going to Garchomp at this point. He has Amoonguss as the solid counter to Rotom, so he's going to go into it every time. So now I get a free switch after the Volt Switch into my Latias, who can threaten the Amoonguss with a Psyshock, and him knowing that is going to go into his Jirachi. Unfortunately, because Jirachi is a 4x resist, Psyshock is going to do practically nothing, but I note that he has lefties, which means that he could be multiple sets, of course. Jirachi's so flexible, but he ends up being Calm Mind. And me thinking, okay, Calm Mind, I'm so used to sub-Calm Mind Jirachi, he's going to probably be like T-Bolt Psychic, whatever. So I go into my Tyranitar on his Calm Mind. I'm thinking, okay, I'm set here. I'm ready to go. I'm going to rock and roll this guy. I'm going to go for the Choice Banded Crunch, and anything he switches in is not going to appreciate it, to be honest. But unfortunately for me, he's actually running Super Archie, which means he has Grass Knot on his set as well. He's probably not running Substitute. Grass Knot alongside two other moves to deal with potential threats, but don't take that kindly with T-Tart. Certainly don't want to stay in. Going to go into my Latias, which is the best thing to take on the Grass Knot. And now I can potentially threaten him with the HP Fire, which is what I go for now. Now, I'm slightly unsure as to why he went to Amoonguss to take the HP Fire, though it does take it well. But it is a super effective hit, and you probably want to avoid that at all costs when Amoonguss is involved. Added to the fact that he is weak to the Psyshock, so that's a little bit of a problem also. I go for the Psyshock now. Unfortunately, he goes to Heatran, which is nice because I get to break his balloon, meaning that if Landorus potentially wants to Earthquake later on, it can in fact do that. I decide I'm going to recover with Latias at this point just to see what he has to threaten me. Turns out he has Hidden Power, which is most likely Hidden Power Ice, and I could recover more and stuff, but Sandstorm's working against me. He could potentially crit me. There's lots of different variables, so I switch into Rotom to take the Hidden Power Ice nicely. And now we're back in the same situation. Rotom, Amoonguss, constantly going on with this battle. I decide I'm going to predict that turn and go for a Will-O-Wisp. Unfortunately, it doesn't end up hitting the Amoonguss, meaning that we're going to continue this constant assault of Rotom versus Amoonguss, and until I manage to get Amoonguss into a awful position, then things are going to continue in this vein. So I'm going to now go into my Fortress, fearing the Spore, of course, and as I said earlier, because he's paralyzed my Fortress, it is already status, it can't go to sleep, so it's perfect to switch in any time to take any status because it is already status. And then, obviously, because he's been playing pretty predictably so far, he's going to go back to his Starmie like he did last time, which means I get the opportunity to not get paralyzed, thankfully, get off my Volt Switch, and go straight into Staraptor, who now threatens a huge portion of his team. U-turn is going to do a nice chunk to the Jirachi, but you know, I would have liked to kill a Starmie there, but he had to really switch it out. There's no real reason for him to do so. But obviously, giving me the U-turn allows me the ability to go straight into something I want to, which is Latias, and Latias can now threaten with the HP Fire. Again, I don't understand his Heracross switch whatsoever. That was really confusing to me and didn't make much sense. Now, here is a portion of the match where I play kind of stupid. I see I'm on 8% health. I want to recover my health, but it's not really the best of ideas when I'm faced with a Heracross, which could potentially be scarfed. But I decide, for some reason, I'm going to recover as opposed to just killing him with Psyshock, even though, after the Sandstorm, well, right, I just said he's potentially scarfed. He's not potentially scarfed because, as we saw with the Sandstorm, my Latias is actually faster because Sandstorm hit me first. Meaning I can stay in and just kill him with a Psyshock, and we should be good to go. But for some reason, I make this weird decision. Instead of doing that and killing him, I'm going to recover because maybe he'll miss a Mega Horn, or maybe he'll predict me to switch and go for a close comp. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Probably the best play would be to kill him or to just go to Landorus and save Latias potentially for later. But I don't. I stay in, I get hit with a Stone Edge, and I die, and that kind of blows a little bit. But it works out a little bit into my favor, because now I can threaten him with Staraptor once again, go on the offensive. I could have gone to Landorus and U-turned as well, but I felt that applying that pressure with Staraptor was much more beneficial. Going for Brave Bird could basically dent any of his guys. Like, looking at his team, Heatran could come in and take one, but then it would potentially be 2-hit KO'd because I have Reckless, and thing is powerful. Garchomp 2-hit KO'd, Amoonguss one-shotted, Starmie dead, Heracross dead. So basically his Jirachi was his only ditch effort to go to something to take the hit, and he goes to it. Now, we are back in this situation against Garchomp, and of course I'm still afraid it's Scarfed, but I have a very nice option with which to deal with Garchomp, and that is of course my Landorus Therian form. After the Intimidate, you can see that Landorus loses 21% of its health. That's going to be important for later, and we're going to kind of go with that vein, although it doesn't really make sense for later. I'll figure it out later on. Anyway, U-turn on his switch as he goes into his Among Us and brings me the free switch into Staraptor, which I can now potentially Brave Bird once again and clean something else out. He really has, every time I'm Volt Switching or U-turning on the Among Us, it allows me an opportunity to go straight into Staraptor and threaten him out, and that's essentially how I'm dealing with this Among Us, because it's Regenerator being a pain, and Rotom can't do anything to it, so there we go. Kill the Starmie with a Brave Bird, and of course, now that I'm locked into Brave Bird, he's going to have to go out into something to take it, which is his Heatran, and I'm going to switch to my Rotom. Though, makes perfect sense because Rotom is the best thing to deal with Heatran, as we've seen multiple times this match. Now, Among Us is probably going to switch in once again because that's what he's been doing this entire match, but he doesn't do that. He goes to his Heracross, and there's the one time that I decided I was going to do something beneficial because had he gone into his Among Us, it would have been full health. I would have got off a Pain Split and brought myself up to a considerable amount of HP, but he makes a nice play there, I guess, maybe predicting me to do that, goes into his Heracross. He could also have potentially predicted the Will-O-Wisp if his Heracross is a Guts one. I don't think he would be, probably running just Moxie, but if he was Guts, then there's the potential for the Will-O-Wisp, and he could have gone into Heracross for that reason also. But it basically means that Pain Split does practically nothing. I'm going to have to switch out here. I don't want to take a hit. Probably best play would have been to go to Landorus, but honestly, Garchomp fears me, threatens me. I don't know. Garchomp is more scary, let's say, than Heracross is, and especially the potential that Garchomp is Scarfed means he outspeeds my entire team. So I go into Fortress as opposed to Landorus, die to a close combat, 2-hit KO'd by it, but the nice thing about that is it clearly shows me that he's a banded Heracross, and it allows me to deal with him pretty aptly. I can go straight into Staraptor, continue what I have been doing, which is U-turning and doing all that stuff, but instead I actually decide this is a good opportunity to go back into Landorus now that Starmie is dead, and set up Stealth Rocks again, because now he no longer has a spinner, there's no way for him to get rid of rocks from the field once more, so Landorus has a good opportunity because he's locked into close combat, and now he's intimidated, of course. He doesn't want to stay in. So he goes out, switches out his Heracross, which at that point is now enough for Stealth Rock to kill him. So it achieves 2 goals in 1. Heracross is basically dead at this point because Stealth Rocks will kill him and switch in, but I also get rocks on the field for everything else. So in comes Among Us, go for the U-turn, and go straight into my Tyranitar, knowing that I can take any hit barring a Giga Drain, I feel, even though I probably could still live one just because of special defense boost. But now he's going to be far too afraid to stay in and take a banded Crunch or a banded whatever. I could have pursuited him out, but it wouldn't have, it would have been nice to do a huge amount of damage to him. But again, Among Us switching out means Regenerator is constantly coming back, and he's going to be able to recover health. So instead of doing that, I decide to go for the superpower, actually predicting him to go into Heatran to take the Crunch, but he kind of goes for the middle ground and goes for Garchomp, which I guess a little bit risky. Crunch probably wouldn't still have taken him out, but it would have done a huge amount, and there's the potential for crits and everything. So Garchomp is in now, but we of course have the 100% guaranteed check to Garchomp, which is my Landorus T. So I'm going to go back into it, get the Intimidate off, and once again, just threaten the thing out. There's nothing he can really do. I'm going to go for the Earthquake, because anything he switches in at this point, either Heracross is going to die, or one of his other 2 things are going to bite the dust, quite literally, because Among Us would be 2-hit KO'd, I believe, by Earthquake, and Heatran is going to be one-shotted. So now he decides, after sacking his Heracross for the Stealth Rocks and stuff, he's going to go into his Among Us to deal with Landorus. I now have more limited options as to what's going to go to sleep, so I feel like, looking at his team now, the only thing that I want to go to sleep is really my Rotom, because Rotom is low enough health where it's not going to be really useful, and it doesn't really deal too well with it's okay, but it's not fantastic. So I need the other Pokemon more, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to go for the U-turn. I actually managed to land a pretty fortunate crit on the Among Us though again, as I've said, Regenerator can fix that, so it's not the hugest of deals in the world. Gonna go to Rotom to go to sleep, and then obviously I want this thing to stay asleep so he can't put anything else to sleep, so I'm gonna bring Rotom back, go straight into Landorus again, which he actually is ending up going for a Hidden Power Ice there, which is a decent prediction on his part, nothing really too taxing, but it makes sense that he would go for it. Fortunately, Landorus is bulky enough and Amoonguss doesn't have enough special attack to the point at which I can take that pretty nicely. And then at this point, I am free to go for an Earthquake. 100% free because nothing on his team wants to take it. His Garchomp will die on switching, his Heatran will die on switching, and his Amoonguss will die if it stays in. So I managed to kill the Heatran. That's what he decides to sacrifice, which is pretty nice at this point because the one problem I was having was with Heatran still around, I couldn't lock myself into Brave Bird with my Staraptor and just clean through everything. The other problem, of course, is that Garchomp is scarfed, essentially, so if this Garchomp manages to outrage spam and destroy me, then things are going to go south, because Garchomp has the potential to do that at this point. It really does. Look at my team. I have Landorus with only 31% HP left. I have a T-Tar, which is basically dead. I have a Rotom, which is asleep. And I have Staraptor, which is going to be outsped. So, if you think about it, things are looking pretty bad right now if he locks himself into outrage. Things are going to die. So, knowing this, and knowing the only real way that I'm going to get past this Garchomp is with Intimidate, I'm going to switch on my Landorus, and I'm going to go into my Rotom at this point. Thinking, I'll go into Rotom, that thing will die, it won't really matter because I don't need it, and then I'm going to go back into Landorus and Intimidate him. However, I'm not still sure, even after the Intimidate, whether an Outrage is going to be able to kill my Landorus T. I think it will, is the thing. Outrage is significantly more powerful than Dragon Claw, and after an Intimidate, Dragon Claw did 21% to me. I have 31%, meaning that Outrage is most certainly going to take down my Landorus if I stay in here now. So, what I have to do instead is try and get the double Intimidate, hope he gets locked in or confused and hits himself in confusion, and we're going to go from there, essentially, because that's my only option at this point. I'm going to go from Landorus into my Tyranitar, take the hit with Outrage, and then hope he gets locked in, because if he does, then with 2 Intimidates and 31% of my HP remaining, I should be able to now live an Outrage from the Garchomp, kill him with an Earthquake, and then take down his Amoonguss with Staraptor, and we should be fine. And fortunately for me, he doesn't get confused, which means that he can't switch out. He's going to be forced to go for the Outrage, and can we live it, ladies and gentlemen, with -2? Garchomp is powerful, but Landorus T has good bulk, and we do leave it with 6% remaining, taking 25% damage from it. Able to kill the Garchomp, and now his final Pokemon is Amoonguss, which of course will be demolished by a Brave Bird from Staraptor, so he decides he's going to forfeit the match, but there you go, it was a pretty fun one, a relatively long one, and man, I ended up talking a lot. It was 45 turns, so that's a long game, and I don't know, I ended up talking a lot more and being able to describe things a lot more because of the pause button. That really helps me. I've really enjoyed doing that because it allows me to just kind of get to grips with everything and really talk as opposed to skimming over details. The pause button is in fact my friend, and wow, that helped greatly. So if you enjoyed this and you want to see more of me using teams like this and playing Showdown and stuff like that, be certain to leave a comment below and to like the video. That always helps. And that's going to be it. We're already running very long. We're like 18 minutes. But I hope this is a series that can continue and people will enjoy it. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.